The ultimatum. The stars were dying. Commander Elena Reyes watched through the reinforced viewport as another orbital defense satellite erupted in a brilliant flash before going dark. From her position on the command deck of Orbital Defense Station Sentinel, she could see Earth below, beautiful, blue, and terrifyingly vulnerable. The Novari attack fleet had decimated humanity's outer defenses with frightening efficiency. Now only Sentinels stood between them and Earth. "How many ships left in our fleet?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Lieutenant Marcus Chen glanced up from his console, his face illuminated by the red emergency lights. 17 operational vessels, Commander. The Novari have over 200 approaching. Elena nodded, absorbing the information without allowing her expression to change. The command center bustled with controlled urgency, officers relaying information, tactical specialists analyzing enemy patterns, and communications experts maintaining the increasingly fragile network connecting Earth's last defenders. "Time until they're in range?" she asked. 43 minutes, Commander," replied Tactical Officer Imani Williams. "They're maintaining their current speed and formation." Elena turned away from the viewport, facing the large strategic display at the center of the command deck. The holographic projection showed the overwhelming Novari fleet, each ship represented by a red marker, advancing inexorably toward Earth. Their blue markers were pitifully few in comparison. "Captain Torres," Elena called to her second-in-command. "Prepare the emergency transmission. It's time." Torres nodded grimly and began coordinating with the communications team. Everyone on the command deck knew what this meant. It was time for humanity's last warning, their final desperate attempt to prevent total annihilation. 6 months ago, humanity had celebrated its greatest achievement, first contact with an alien civilization. The Novari had appeared at the edge of the solar system, sleek, crystalline ships that defied human understanding of physics. Their initial communications had been peaceful, speaking of cultural exchange and mutual advancement. Elena remembered watching the broadcasts with her husband Diego and their daughter Sofia from their apartment in New Geneva. Sofia, just 7 years old, had been captivated by the images of the alien vessels, her eyes wide with wonder. "Will I get to meet them, Mom?" she had asked. Elena had smiled and tousled her daughter's hair. "Maybe someday, mi corazon." How quickly someday had turned to nightmare. The peace lasted barely 3 weeks before the Novari revealed their true intentions. They hadn't come to share knowledge. They had come to conquer. Their initial delegation had been gathering intelligence, identifying Earth's weaknesses, and preparing for invasion. The first attack came without warning. The Novari destroyed the lunar colonies in a single strike, killing over 15,000 people. Next came Mars, then the mining operations in the asteroid belt. Humanity fought back with everything they had, but their technology was vastly inferior. In those desperate early days, as governments worldwide scrambled to unite against the external threat, Elena had been pulled from her position as aerospace commander to lead Earth's orbital defenses. Diego and Sofia were evacuated to one of the underground shelters beneath the Rocky Mountains, along with millions of other civilians. The last time she had seen them was 93 days ago. She kept their picture on her tablet. Diego's kind eyes and easy smile. Sofia's gap-toothed grin and unruly curls. Every decision Elena made was with them in mind, with the weight of knowing that failure meant they would never see another sunrise. "Commander," Chief Science Officer Dr. Vikram Patel approached, holding the secured tablet. "Project Prometheus is ready for activation. All systems are green." Elena took the tablet, entering her authorization code. The screen flashed blue in confirmation. "Have the other command keys been authorized?" "Yes, Commander. The United Earth Defense Council has provided all 5 authorization codes. You now have full operational control of Prometheus." Project Prometheus, humanity's terrible last resort. The weapon they had prayed they would never need to use. No one outside the highest levels of military command knew exactly what Prometheus was capable of. The project had begun decades ago as a theoretical physics experiment, but had been accelerated dramatically after the Novari invasion. The scientific team, led by Dr. Patel, had worked tirelessly to bring it from concept to reality. All Elena knew was that it had the potential to not only defeat the Novari, but to fundamentally alter the laws of physics within the solar system itself. Dr. Patel had described it as weaponized spacetime, a concept so terrifying that even the hardened military leaders had blanched when briefed on its potential consequences. "Commander, transmission ready," Torres reported. "Global broadcast systems are aligned. We can reach the Novari fleet and simultaneously transmit to all Earth defense forces and civilian shelters." Elena took a deep breath, straightening her uniform jacket. She tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear and moved to the communication station. The crew watched in silence, understanding the gravity of what was about to happen. "Open the channel," she ordered. The main screen flickered, revealing the face of the Novari commander. They were humanoid in basic shape, but their skin was a translucent blue-white, like glacial ice. Their eyes were entirely black, with no discernible pupils, giving them an expression of perpetual coldness. The commander's head was elongated, adorned with crystalline growths that might have been decorative or might have served some biological function. Human scientists had never been given enough time to study Novari physiology before the war began. "I am Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Forces," Elena began, her voice clear and unwavering. "I speak on behalf of humanity with this final communication." The Novari commander tilted its head slightly. When it spoke, its voice was melodic but devoid of emotion, translated through the AI systems that had been working to bridge the communication gap since first contact. "The conquest of your world is inevitable, Commander Reyes. Your defenses are failing. Surrender now, and a portion of your species will be preserved as subjects of the Novari Dominion." Elena's jaw tightened. "We have monitored your advance through our solar system. We have witnessed the destruction of our colonies and the slaughter of our people. Humanity will not surrender. We will not become subjects." The Novari commander's expression didn't change. Of course it didn't. Human expressions of emotion meant nothing to them. "Then you will be eliminated," it stated simply. "Your species' resistance is futile and illogical." "Before you continue your advance," Elena said, "I am authorized to inform you that humanity has developed a weapon of last resort. We call it Project Prometheus." For the first time, the Novari commander showed a reaction, a slight narrowing of those black eyes. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our fleet." Elena activated a sequence on her tablet, and the transmission included technical specifications of Prometheus, enough to demonstrate its power without revealing how it worked. "Prometheus is not a conventional weapon," she explained. "It targets the fabric of spacetime itself. If activated, it will create a cascading quantum disruption that will expand outward from Earth at faster than light speeds, affecting everything in its path for a minimum distance of 2 light-years. The data scrolled across the screen: theoretical models, energy signatures, and the projected radius of effect. The science was beyond Elena's complete understanding, but the implications were clear. If Prometheus was activated, nothing within the solar system would survive, including Earth itself. "This is Earth's final warning," Elena continued, her voice dropping lower but maintaining its strength. "Withdraw your forces beyond the orbit of Pluto. Establish a non-aggression treaty with humanity. If you continue this war, if you advance 1 kilometer closer to Earth, we will activate Prometheus." She leaned forward slightly, looking directly into those alien eyes. "We would rather destroy ourselves and you together than live as your slaves. The choice is yours. You have 30 minutes to begin your withdrawal." Elena signaled, and Torres cut the transmission. The command center was silent. Everyone present understood what had just been declared. If the Novari called their bluff, humanity would face an impossible choice: surrender and eventual extinction, or activate Prometheus and ensure mutual destruction. Elena returned to the viewport, looking down at the blue planet below. Somewhere beneath those swirling white clouds, beneath the surface of the earth itself, Diego and Sofia were waiting, hoping, praying. She placed her palm against the cold, transparent material, as if trying to reach across the void to touch them one last time. "Now we wait," she said quietly, more to herself than to the crew. The stars continue to shine, oblivious to the fate being decided beneath them. Humanity had delivered its ultimatum. The next move belonged to the Novari. And the clock was ticking. The response: 29 minutes and counting. The command center of Orbital Defense Station Sentinel had fallen into an eerie quiet, broken only by the soft beeping of monitoring systems and the occasional hushed communication between officers. Everyone's eyes kept darting to the central chronometer as it counted down the minutes until humanity's ultimatum expired. Commander Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her posture rigid as she stared at the tactical display. The Novari fleet had halted its advance, holding position just beyond Mars orbit. But they hadn't begun to withdraw. "Any response from the Novari?" she asked. Communications Officer Javier Rodriguez shook his head. "Nothing, Commander. They've received our transmission. We can confirm that, but they haven't responded." Elena's jaw tightened. She had expected immediate dismissal, perhaps even acceleration of their attack. This silence was unexpected. Were they actually considering the ultimatum? Or were they simply analyzing Prometheus, trying to determine if it was a bluff? "Dr. Patel," she called to the chief scientist, who stood at a nearby console, monitoring Prometheus's systems. "What's your assessment? Do you think they believe us?" Vikram looked up, his eyes tired behind his glasses. "The data we transmitted was accurate, if incomplete. The Novari have shown advanced understanding of quantum mechanics and space-time theory. They should be able to recognize the theoretical validity of Prometheus." He paused. "Whether they believe we would actually use it, that's another question entirely." Elena nodded. That was the crux of it. Would the Novari believe that humanity would choose mutual destruction over surrender? It was a terrible gamble, one that depended on the aliens' understanding of human psychology. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen called suddenly, his voice tight with urgency. "We've got movement in the Novari fleet." All eyes turned to the tactical display. Several of the red markers representing Novari ships were changing position, breaking from their previous formation. "Are they withdrawing?" Captain Torres asked, the first hint of hope in her voice in weeks. Tactical Officer Williams studied the data, her fingers flying across her console. After a moment, she looked up, her expression grim. "Negative. They're reconfiguring into attack formations. I'm detecting energy buildups consistent with their primary weapon systems." The flicker of hope in the command center died as quickly as it had appeared. The Novari had made their choice. They were calling humanity's bluff. Time until they're in firing range. Elena asked, her voice steady despite the sinking feeling in her stomach. 17 minutes at their current acceleration," Williams replied. Elena turned to Dr. Patel. "Begin Prometheus activation sequence." A hush fell over the command center. Dr. Patel hesitated for just a moment before entering a complex sequence into his console. A new display appeared on the main screen, a circular diagram with 5 segments, each labeled with the name of a Prometheus installation, hidden at strategic locations around the globe. "Activation sequence initiated," Dr. Patel confirmed. "All 5 Prometheus nodes responding. Quantum entanglement network stable." Elena nodded, then addressed the communication station. "Broadcast to all Earth Defense Forces and civilian shelters. Project Prometheus has been activated. Countdown set for 15 minutes. As Rodriguez carried out her orders, Elena felt the weight of what she had just done settle onto her shoulders. 15 minutes until the point of no return. 15 minutes until humanity would either secure its freedom or ensure its extinction alongside its enemies. The main screen flickered, and the face of the Novari commander appeared once more. "You have chosen to continue your advance," Elena stated, not waiting for the alien to speak. "Project Prometheus has been activated. You have 15 minutes to begin withdrawal before the weapon reaches critical stage and can no longer be deactivated. The Novari commander's black eyes seemed to bore into her. "We have analyzed your weapon specifications," it said, its translated voice eerily calm. "Our scientists believe that while such a weapon might be theoretically possible, the energy requirements would be beyond your civilization's capabilities. We believe this is deception." Elena kept her expression neutral. "Then you have made your choice. 15 minutes. She signaled to cut the transmission, but the Novari commander spoke again. "Wait." There was something different in its tone, a subtle change that the translation algorithm registered as urgency. "I would speak further." Elena paused, then nodded for the connection to remain open. "Why would your species choose mutual destruction?" the Novari asked. "It defies logic. Survival, even under subjugation, is the rational choice." "That's where you've misunderstood us from the beginning," Elena replied. "Humans don't always choose the rational path. Our history is filled with examples of people who chose death over slavery, who sacrificed themselves so others might live free. We call it courage, honor, love." The Novari commander tilted its head, a gesture that Elena had come to recognize as confusion or curiosity. "These concepts do not translate clearly. They seem inefficient. Perhaps that's why you'll never truly understand us," Elena said, "and why you should never have come here." The tactical display updated, showing the Novari fleet continuing its advance despite the conversation. They still didn't believe the threat was real. "Commander," Dr. Patel called, his voice low but urgent. "There's something you should know about Prometheus." Elena excused herself from the communication and moved to the science station, keeping her voice down. "What is it?" Dr. Patil glanced around to ensure they wouldn't be overheard. "The United Earth Defense Council. They didn't tell you everything about Prometheus. None of the military commanders were given the complete information." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" "Prometheus isn't just a weapon," he explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's something more. The quantum disruption it creates. Our models suggest it doesn't simply destroy. It transforms." "Transforms how?" Elena demanded. "The theory is complex, but essentially Prometheus creates a bubble of altered physical laws, a space where reality itself operates differently. Inside that bubble, conventional weapons, including the Novari technology, would cease to function as expected." Elena stared at him, processing this information. "Are you saying it could neutralize the Novari weapons without destroying Earth?" "Possibly," Dr. Patel admitted. "But it's not that simple. The transformation would be profound. Both we and the Novari would be fundamentally changed by exposure to the field. Not destroyed, perhaps, but different. And there's no way to predict exactly how." Elena turned back to the tactical display, her mind racing. Prometheus wasn't just mutual destruction. It was a desperate roll of the dice, a complete rewriting of the rules of the game. But the outcome remained unpredictable, possibly more terrifying than simple annihilation. "Why wasn't I told this?" she asked, anger edging into her voice. "The Council feared that if the military commanders knew Prometheus wasn't guaranteed destruction, it might activate it too readily," Dr. Patil explained. "They wanted it to remain the absolute last resort." The chronometer continued its merciless countdown. 12 minutes remaining. Elena returned to the communication station, where the Novari commander still waited on screen. "Your fleet continues to advance," she observed. "You still believe we're bluffing?" "I believe you are rational beings," the Novari replied. "And rational beings choose survival." "Then let me show you something," Elena said. She nodded to Dr. Patel, who transmitted a new set of data, the complete Prometheus specifications, including the theoretical models of its transformation effects. The Novari commander's eyes widened slightly as it processed the information. For several long moments, it was silent, presumably communicating with its scientists. When it spoke again, There was a new note in its voice, something the translation algorithm identified as uncertainty. This is unexpected. Our analysis suggests this technology could indeed be viable, but the consequences would be unpredictable. Yes, Elena agreed. For both our species, that's the point. Prometheus doesn't just destroy, it changes the rules. If activated, neither humans nor Novari will continue as we are now. We will all be transformed into something new, something unknown. That is humanity's response to your invasion. We would rather face the unknown together than live under your dominion. The tactical display updated again. The Novari fleet had stopped its advance. You would risk such fundamental transformation? The Novari commander asked. Even your own extinction. To protect our freedom? Yes. Elena's voice was firm. That is what it means to be human. Now make your choice. 9 minutes remaining. The command center held its collective breath as the Novari commander fell silent again. The only sound was the soft beeping of the countdown, marking the seconds until Prometheus reached the point of no return. Commander, Williams reported suddenly. The Novari fleet is moving again. All eyes turned to the tactical display. The red markers were indeed changing position, but not in the attack formation they had seen earlier. They were withdrawing. Confirmed, Williams said, her voice rising with disbelief. The Novari fleet is accelerating away from Earth. Current trajectory suggests they're heading toward the outer solar system. All eyes turned to the tactical display. The red markers were indeed changing position, but not in the attack formation they had seen earlier. They were withdrawing. Confirmed, Williams said, her voice rising with disbelief. The Novari fleet is accelerating away from Earth. Current trajectory suggests they're heading toward the outer solar system. A cautious wave of hope rippled through the command center, but Elena remained focused on the alien commander's face on the screen. We require more time to analyze this situation, the Novari commander stated. We are withdrawing beyond your specified boundary to conduct this analysis. This is not surrender or retreat. It is reassessment. Elena nodded slowly. The Prometheus countdown will be paused when your fleet passes the orbit of Pluto, not before. Understood. The Novari commander's black eyes seemed to study her for a moment longer. Your species is unusual, Commander Reyes. We have conquered 17 worlds, and none have responded as yours has. Remember that, Elena said simply, before you consider returning. The transmission ended, and the main screen returned to the tactical display, showing the Novari fleet's retreat. For several seconds, no one on the command deck spoke. Then, as the reality of what had just happened began to sink in, quiet exclamations of relief and disbelief began to spread. Elena raised her hand for silence. This isn't over, she cautioned. They're withdrawing to reconsider, not surrendering. Maintain all defense protocols. Dr. Patel, keep Prometheus on standby until they're beyond Pluto's orbit as agreed. Yes, Commander, Dr. Patel acknowledged, though his expression showed the same cautious hope that was spreading through the command center. Elena turned back to the viewport, gazing down at Earth. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to think about what might come next, about the possibility of seeing Diego and Sofia again, of feeling the sun on her face, of a world not consumed by war. It would be hours before the Novari fleet reached Pluto's orbit, hours of continued tension and vigilance. But for now, at least, humanity had bought itself time. And with it, hope. Captain Torres approached, standing beside her at the viewport. Do you think they'll come back? She asked quietly. Elena considered the question. Eventually, perhaps. But they'll come differently next time. They'll come knowing what we're capable of, not just technologically, but as a species. And if they do return. Elena's gaze remained fixed on the blue planet below. Then we'll be ready. And we'll remind them again, if necessary, that humanity will never surrender its freedom, no matter the cost. As the Novari fleet continued its retreat across the solar system, Elena thought of all the people on Earth emerging from their shelters, looking up at the sky with renewed hope. She thought of Diego and Sofia, of the message she would soon be able to send them. "We're safe for now. I'm coming home." The stars no longer seemed to be dying. Instead, they watched in silent witness as humanity stood its ground against the vast darkness of space, not with superior firepower or advanced technology, but with the most powerful force in their arsenal, the unbreakable human spirit. Somewhere in the depths of space, the Novari were reconsidering everything they thought they knew about the beings of Earth, and on Orbital Defense Station Sentinel, Commander Elena Reyes allowed herself, for the first time in 6 months, to smile. The war wasn't over, but today, humanity had won something more valuable than a battle. They had won respect.